Alright, setting up for another little. I haven't done one of these in a while, so bear with me, a little rusty right now. But I figure since we going into another shutdown, what is the better way to spend part of the day? What's up? So I'm gonna paint this. I had a broken Xbox controller. Well, not broken. It just was ugly. It was one of the old black ones. I guess you can't really tell because I painted the hell out of it already. But we're going to go ahead and paint this bad boy just for funsies. Since I'm waiting on stuff to actually get here that everybody would like to see me paint. Since we don't have those yet, we're going to make do with what we got. I'll show you a couple things. A lot of people have been asking me for more tips and stuff like that. So this is what we're going to focus on. It's small, it's manini, it's whatever. But we can go ahead and do them anyway. So this is what we're going to do. So I already primed it, which I just scuffed the original plastic, primed it with the primer, and then I went ahead and pre-silvered it. So it might look gold in this, but I promise you it's silver. And I do this with every single prop because this is what gives me my undertones. So when I actually remove paint for chipping and stuff, it gives us that beat up actual weathered look. So it's not painting silver on, I'm actually taking paint off to expose silver. I had a lot of people asking how do I paint the silver on, and the answer is I don't. I just chip paint off, and that's what we end up with. Oh, this is also, sorry, this is a little lantern that I painted and added some stuff to make it a little Star Warsy. Just a cheapo, quick little lantern thing. Hey, what's up, Anna? Actually comes like this originally. It's one of these little fun things. They look cool, so I decided to paint them. But we'll worry about that another time. Okay, so the paint scheme for this, I had a bunch of people ask me for different things. I decided that I really wanted to do an Ahsoka Tano with the orange on the top and the blue and white stripes on underneath, and it I couldn't figure out how to do it because the controller that I have that this goes onto, that I pulled apart, isn't all one color. So it's the top and the bottoms are the same color, like these pieces are the same color, but the rest of it's like that shiny black, that gloss black. And if I did the full Ahsoka Tano with the orange and the blue and the white, it would look funky with just this big black patches all over the place, and that was going to be a little hectic. So what I decided to do instead is we're still going to go with the Ahsoka Tano feel, but we're going to do her headpiece. So we're going to go ahead and keep the blue and white kind of patterning, like how I did on the back of the helmet here, but we're going to do it like it's her actual head. So the top of these would, kind of simulate the points on her head, and these are kind of the oh man, I don't know, not tentacles. I know there's a name for them, I just can't remember for right now. So that'll come down. So we're gonna paint this whole thing a base coat of white first. I know this is a silver base. We'll paint white over the top of this, chip that paint away, and then the Leku. That's right. Sorry, guys. And then we'll go ahead and draw our blue stripes on there and paint over that. And then when we peel it all away, we'll have the Ahsoka effect. So that's what we're gonna go for. So for today, like always, the paint that I'm gonna use is Montana Gold. It's an acrylic base spray paint. Yes, we're definitely doing tape balls. Boom. There you go, Anna, just for you. I always use Montana Gold, and there's several reasons for that. If you haven't seen me do paint tutorials in the past, this stuff is incredibly easy to work with, extremely fast drying. So we're gonna do this whole project in like the next 15-20 minutes. So that's what's gonna happen. And I don't use airbrushes. I don't use fancy tools because I'm not fancy. We'll just say that. So to get the effects that I have, like as for instance, like this blaster mark on old Boba here, and the different shade tones. I don't know if you can actually see this all that well because it's kind of shadowy in here. But I use, the Montana actually comes with this, it's like a ghost black. And I have this sideways nozzle on there. And I do a quick dusting from either really close or really angled to get these different sort of dirty tones. And then I dirty it up, obviously, lastly, with our ceramic coat acrylic paint. And sorry if there's cars driving by, I'm outside today. It's a nice day outside, so might as well. So there's that. So Montana gold paint, and then we got our acrylic black. I am probably going to use some of this today. I don't really ever use this. I just usually use tape. But because I'm going to be doing the lines for the headdress, I figured this would be quick and easy. It'll dry fast, so I'm not worried about it. So really, all my weathering that I do for any project, these are it. This is my tools. Oh, sorry. I missed one more tool. The most important one. Boop. This is it. So every time I do any sort of paint job on any helmet, on any body armor, it is cheap brushes, a pencil if I need. This is really just, I don't really ever use this, but we're going to use it today. And tape, the blue tape. And that's it. That's all I use. I'm not a professional painter. I don't pretend to be. I like to do beat up dirty stuff and it looks fun and easy, and I like to do it like this because I figure it's easy and most people can do it. So I figure why not? So first things first, we'll do our white base, and we're using SH white. It's not really a pure white, it's kind of this weird off-white creamish color, which is good because it helps with getting that warm, worn down kind of simulation feel to it, so it's not pure white, and it's easier to dirty up or smooth out our gradients for dirt and grime, so it doesn't have to be pure white. Normally I would take this away and paint it, but I think we're going to get our hands dirty today. Why not? Screw it. We're going to do it. I'll kind of scoot this over because this is going to be interesting. So, like I said, first things first, we're going to go ahead and start with our base coat white. I'm going to prep some tape for our tape balls. If those of you who don't know how I get my chipping effects and all that, it's just wadded up blue tape. That's it. That's the secret ingredient to all this detail is wadded up blue tape. Sorry, environment, but we're doing this outside today. All right. Oh, maybe I should move this guy. Just in case. I don't want to be painting him again. All right. Hey, Baker Bakes. All right. I don't know if you guys can see this or what, but here we go. Just kind of give a nice thick layer in there. And now it's going back to looking like an OG Xbox controller. It's white again! And because it's warm and hot out here, this is gonna go pretty quick, I think. So I usually don't allow the paint to dry fully, especially to get like the dented stuff. What I'll do is wad up that blue tape. You get all these nice little ridges and I don't know if you can see that, ridges and like little unique markings in there. So when you go to beat up your prop, you just dab away. Dab, 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 dab. And see, it's making all these weird indentations and it's taking some of the paint away, but not all of it. And if you rotate your tape ball around, you get a different wear pattern, so it's not all the same wear. And it's, see, the paint is already starting to dry up pretty good, and now my other paint popped off. So that gives us our dented, battle worn look for when it's really still wet. And what we do to get our edges and whatnot, pull that off because we don't need that anymore. I'm just going to go ahead and lay the tape on in the corners, so you can kind of still see, and just kind of edge it and peel it off. It's going to be hard to see with the white right out of the gate because the white and silver kind of blend together, but it's pulling it off, I promise you. Oops. And this is pretty much how I get all that silver to show through. And what I will do is, since it's still just a little wet, I thought it was just a little bit humid out here, so let that sit for just a second. And you don't have to be perfect with this. Like, the goal is to make this thing look beat up, so beat it up. That's our end goal, right? See, it's already starting to get nice and dry. So any wear surface that might have continuous wear, yank it off. Dink. Push my thumb in the little hole there, and it'll have different wear pattern for every single spot. Like so. Do all of these edges here, making a big thumbprint in there, but that's okay. Not worried about the thumbprints. Alright, so I'm getting pretty good. I want more right there. Nice edge. So, and this is pretty much all I do for this particular stuff. For battle damage and whatnot, you can already kind of see that it's getting all beat up and gnarly looking. And we'll continue that process for these pieces as well. So you don't have to tape it all together and paint it all at once. That's not something you actually have to do. Go ahead and do the inside here before I forget. And that way when I put this all back together, it'll have even more contrast with the buttons and stuff. So it's going to be fun. Fun. Don't judge me for playing Xbox. Sorry, guys. I have a PC also. I do use that, but can't paint my PC. If you said the silver underlayer was protected or just dry. So the silver has dried for 2 days. Anytime I do my silver base, I allow that to dry for a minimum of 24 hours. And the reason why is when you're pulling paint off and this paint is wet, if you don't let the underlayer dry completely, the silver, it will pull the silver up as well. And I will note that this paint peel technique really works the best with this type of paint. I had started out originally using normal Krylon spray paint, and I did not get the results that I wanted at all. So that was kind of a crappy whatever. So now for pick damage, or what I call like rocker damage, I'll wad up another tape ball, and since it's mostly dry now, I'll push these little cracks and creases into that deeper, and when I rip it rips off individual little specks, and that's allowing to have like all those individual tiny little like rock chips or whatever, this kind of stuff. And you just kind of do that, you know, wherever you feel is absolutely necessary. Usually I like to damage the high spots. So like here would be a high spot, and here would be a high spot. and up on the top you would have more damage. Since we are going to be painting over this again with the blue, you don't really have to do a whole lot of damage to this. I just like to make sure that you can see the silver through that in some places. You know, not all places, just a few. Like in here we got some good stuff, and you know, on these edge lines. Now when this dries completely, you will know that it will pick up less and less paint, obviously, when you're doing this type of stuff. So your work time with this stuff, especially if it's a hot day like it is today outside, it's not a lot. See, nice little chip mark there. So there we go. So no, and yeah, there's also no clear coat. I have not clear coated anything that I have painted at all. I tried that before, and what it does with any clear coat on most paint surfaces, well, like the silver, since it doesn't allow the light to reflect off of the surface immediately, it has to go through that clear. It actually dulls all the silver out, so it's not really that reflective anymore. It goes from looking like a shiny metal to a super dull silver gray. It doesn't stay shiny silver. It definitely dulls it out. So with this kind of stuff, I don't ever do a clear coat at all. I have 2 helmets that I've clear coated before, and I like them, but they're not my favorite. I will say that. That's what I'll say. You definitely can do the pre-cut pieces. Like every now and then I'll have some like just laid across my workstation surface. But for the tape balls, like this kind of stuff, I kind of do it all at once, crumble it up, because you do get different surface tensions with different size tape balls, if that makes sense. Nice little chip there, those little chips there. And then you just work it until you think you've got something cool. Like that looks damaged enough, I think. Yeah, I don't know how well you guys can see this, but it's got a nice wear surface to it. We got all the little indentations. I might try and get a little bit more on the inside of the D-pad here. So I'll just go ahead and use our thumbnail to get in the crack there. Nice little weather there. Boom. So there's that. I have tried the graphite powder, and graphite powder has an amazing result if you do a really, really, really good prep. If you prep the part really, really well, you have to make that thing shiny, shiny, shiny gloss black. That thing has to be flawless to make it look, to have a similar effect to this. And the thing that I don't like about graphite is that you don't do it just once. You definitely have to reapply it later on, which to me is kind of, if you're going out, you're trooping, you're doing stuff, you're having a good time, the last thing you want to have to worry about is how much you beat up your props. For me, I'm clumsy. I get crazy when I'm doing stupid poses and stuff, or doing pictures. I'm not careful. So if I have a really, really nice, like we'll say blade or something like that, it'll wear off, and then you have to redo a whole thing to make it smooth and shiny again, and that to me is kind of a bummer. If I'm out there whacking stuff around and jumping off of hillsides and whatnot, and do tumbles and stuff just to get like a really cool action shot, the last thing I want to have to worry about is my prop. I definitely want to worry about the shot itself and how cool it looks, because really, to be honest, that's the end goal, right? Just want to look badass, because that's what I am doing. I'm trying anyway. Try. All right, so while this dries, we can paint these guys. Just do our real quick base coat and stuff on these. Go with that. Same with clear coat issues a bit. Yeah, Yeah. I don't think you can clear coat over graphite powder. I don't think I've ever seen that done, if that's what you mean. Um, However, it might be something fun to test out and try just to see. But all right, so we don't overspray all over the guy that we just damaged. And I lay this on kind of thick. It's not, because the thickness of the paint, like not so much that it drips, but this stuff doesn't really drip that easy, especially since it's acrylic. It dries and it dries so quick. You don't have to worry about that too much. So I like to layer it on just a little thick, so that way it gives us more depth of paint for chipping. It doesn't work out that well. Yeah. Listen to Maker Baked. So again, still wet, and you can still see the sheen on there. Hey truck. We got our little tape ball. And I'm just gonna gently, well, apparently it doesn't want to stay. And see how that just takes off just a little bit of paint and adds our little indentations there. You don't even have to dab it hard. Just enough. Woo, look out. And then see how this has like a similar wear pattern. All you gotta do is rotate the tape ball and that changes. And just kind of beat that up a little bit. I don't want to beat this part up too much, especially since I don't have any way to hold it. Alright. I'm gonna re-stick this back to the base, because this is not gonna be easy to mess with. Come on, guy. It's kind of bouncy. How do we avoid fingerprints? Oh, that didn't work either. So, there we go. See, I'm not careful with stuff. I beat stuff up. If it, and that actually made a cool little wear mark in there. Yeah. See, there we go. Nice little chunk of weird out pattern. And we'll go ahead and do the same for this one real quick while that one's drying a little bit. And since this is the wet surface, we can still use the same tape ball and just kind of give it a couple dabs here and there. And it flopped over. That's okay. See? Nice little paint mark. Nice little paint mark. Win-win. No fingerprints, so that's cool. Alright. So we'll go ahead and skip over to, this should set up nicer. That is not going to stay on there. Alright, so we're just going to hold it. So I wanted to get some more chipping. So every now and then I'll actually use my nail or some more pressure to get that wear pattern in there. That should be good. I feel like Bob Ross. Happy little chips. Happy paint chips. So do that with this guy, because as you can see, the dry time on this isn't slow. Like, these are actually pretty dry. This one's completely dry already, and it's ready to be painted over and masked and all this other stuff. So for our wear pattern, our wear surface, we're going to go ahead and mark some of this off. I don't want to do too much on the edge, just because wherever it connects to the black, I will. Yeah, Montana, as far as I'm concerned, is probably the best paint for prop making or prop stuff, just because, especially with what I do, it's just so easy to work with, and I mean, it's not the cheapest paint. Like, there are paints out there that are just $1, and that's, you know, whatever. Like, if you're doing it like a budget build or whatever, that's fine. You do some quick, cheap paint. But if you're doing a helmet or something that's going to be in a lot of photos or images, I would definitely suggest using something like this, a little higher quality. Dang, let's see. Montana, so the Montana Gold spray paint, as far as where you can buy it, I know it's on Amazon. They can't ship it to Hawaii, so I don't buy it off Amazon. But they do have it at our local, we have a Ben Franklin Crafts, it's just our local craft store. So they sell it in the droves, almost every single color. I have probably 30 or 40 different colors from this company, and they have almost anything you can imagine, any color combination that you can really come up with, they pretty much have it. Oh, well, thanks for stopping by, DM Darius. I don't know how to pronounce that. So I'm just going to do a couple more little chip marks on this before I do our blue, because I want to make sure that a side note is that if you are doing a second layer of paint over things, just remember that wherever that paint is going on top of, you're not going to have your silver if you don't remove. So there is that. I haven't seen a Ben Franklin since you were a kid. Well, we get them out here. We get plenty. I'm sure like Michael's or a Hobby Lobby or something, they probably carry this stuff as well. I'm not 100%, don't quote me on that, because I haven't been to a Hobby Lobby or a Michael's in probably over a decade. So there's that. Hello, mailman. Alright. So now the fun part. I probably could let this set up for a little while longer, but we might just do some stuff anyway. I will draw another trusty pencil. Oh, I just realized I got overspray all over my stuff. Okay, never mind. So for the Leiku, if I'm saying that right, you can, and I have done this. I didn't do it today just because I got lazy. I could have made pre-cut out strips to do a lot of this with tape. Just draw it out and cut strips of paint out and whatnot to actually do the Leiku stripes a little bit better, but I didn't. I actually didn't even know I was going to do this paint tutorial until about 20 minutes before I posted it. So there's that. That should be good enough. It's barely pulling any paint off now, so that's good. So here's what we're going to do. Since these are going to be our tops, I want this blue to kind of come down a little bit, spike up for the tips of her Leiku, and then kind of round out and come down this way. Alright, I don't know if you guys can see that at all. I'm actually looking at a picture of her stripe pattern over there, so I'm kind of cheating. And then she's got one that comes down this way. There's the male guy, it's just cruising today. Alright, so we have a blue stripe and a blue top, and then the other stripes just kind of do their own things down here. I don't think I want to go too thin With this, we'll do a little bit thicker so we have more blue than white. The interesting part is going to be trying to match up the top stripes with the bottom. I might have to paint this, like tape this thing together and paint it, but it won't be too bad. Let's see. So I have that one, I have this one, and we'll do another one at the bottom here to kind of give that little. This is like young Ahsoka. Her lake who's not fully formed yet. Right? Because that's what happens. I think that's okay. It's something I just realized that since I'm painting the blue instead of I should have did the blue first and then the white over it. Kind of an oversight there, but screw it. I'll go this route. I could just leave this as a beat up battle damaged white Xbox controller and it would still look cool, but it's not Star Wars enough, so we're not going to do that. Okay, so we're going to have to match up these points here to the other side. Oops, I'm doing that off camera, sorry guys. And this is just to get a nice idea of where I want everything to end up with the blue. So there's a spike over here, so I gotta do the same thing on the other side. It's got a 1/2 inch gap between that, so that should come down like there. And the other stripes I can just kind of make up as I go along. That shouldn't be too bad. So I normally don't, but I think for this I will use the masking fluid, just because there's quite a lot of white that I have to cover that I wasn't expecting to cover. I didn't think about it. But I will go ahead and I'll just do a couple of these stripes. We'll mask off most of this thing. I'll do a couple of the stripes so you can kind of see what this is. I'll probably spend more time off camera and do the actual full stripage, if that's what we're going to call it, stripage. Yeah, I definitely have to put those together in order to make sure this is right. Oopsie doodle. Good thing, see, that's how this dries quick. That's good. Good. Oh, you know what? I don't have to do that. I'll just hold it and then draw. That'll be easier, I think. This is kind of a pain in the ass. Okay, so this is going to come down and go up. And this spike here, I'm going to bring down and go up. That way it was rounded out, kind of nice, has like a little kind of feel to it. And this one comes down and goes up too. And then her little bottom side. There. So now that everything's all, there we go. Now you need a controller mounted keyboard painted orange. Yeah. I just bought a new Xbox controller that is pure white all the way around, and I think I will go ahead and do how I did the helmet, where it's orange and reddish on the top, and have these kind of go into the blue and white on the bottoms with my other controller, because it's white all the way around and it's be a lot easier to paint than this one is. Yeah, I mean, look at that. The wet chipping, it just adds so much more depth and contrast to the piece itself. And that's a lot with the helmets that I do. And I'll show you again with the Ahsoka one. You can see that all in here where the light hits. And that's the beauty of doing this kind of stuff. So with the wet chipping, you get this nice shadow depth. So it's not exposed metal in the wet chipping. It just looks gnarled and beat up, like it's been dropped, it's been beat up, it's dragged through the mud, whatever it is. And this is the wet chipping with the dry chip over the top of it, tape ball chip. So it adds that little bit of depth. And when you do stuff like this with the wet chip, the reason I add, like if I didn't add the contrast in here, you wouldn't see this, is I'll take and I'll rub in the acrylic paint over the top of it. So with black, I'll use black, and I'll just do a wet wash and rub it in there, and it'll pull all these different textures out and then make them stand out really, really nice. You don't even have to do like a super depth paint or dark paint. You just quick wash it and just wipe it off, dry wipe it off, and it'll leave residue from the paint in these crevices and stuff and give you that extra added depth. So that's going to be like how it is here. Up at the top, it's going to have that wet dry technique that I just showed you with the other helmet. So that's that. So I'm going to do it real quick before I start droning on and on and on. Is we are going to do a mask off, and we'll do a couple of these stripes on here. And again, like I said, pretty much everything I use for this stuff is always tape. I don't ever really use any sort of professional stuff. It's tape. And I like when you do the when you're masking stuff off, especially with, if you want this like kind of rigid, jagged edge so it doesn't look too sharp and clean, I really like the blue tape as well, because you get that effect. It's like got like nice little ridges and a tear pattern in there. And again, for this upper stripe, just kind of fuse that on there. And I do want more blue than white, so I am making these a little thicker. Like so, this one's going to be blue, this is going to be blue. Any questions? That's a David Pumpkins reference, in case you guys don't know what that was from. Being as it's getting close to Halloween, when I'm kind of sad about, because I don't know in this day and age if we're even going to get Halloween. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. So, and the other thing about this blue tape, it's really easy to move around. I used to paint houses when I was young, in high school, and we pretty much used blue tape for every single house that we've ever messed with. I kind of like this little dip up there. I'm gonna leave that. I was gonna tape this off, but I really like that little. Let's see, now for the spike here. Let's see. It's got that super curve. So start up at the top, and then kind of curve and squish the tape down. So it has a bit of a curve. The same thing for the top section. Get that point. Come on, cooperate. And a lot of times, if I'm doing something and the like this, where that's too much of a curve, I'll lay my tape straight, and then I'll just layer and layer and layer and layer until we have exactly the shape we need. So sometimes when I'm doing the cheeks on the helmets, oh man, sometimes there's like 30 or 40 layers of little paint strips over the top of each other to get that nice curve through the cheek itself. Otherwise, it's going to be a nightmare to try and pin down. And this is a process I don't really show often because it's super boring. Nobody likes watching this crap. But you can kind of see it's starting to pattern out now. So we have our curve spike here, our mid, and our lower. I'm going to do the last one here, which is going to be the top spike, and then layer a piece of tape way over the whole thing there so it doesn't crud up everything else that we don't want. Okay, that's pretty good. Little choo-choo. I've been trying to expand my sound effects vocabulary, if you will. So if you hear me making weird new noises instead of booms constantly, I'm sorry. It's something new. Okay. And I haven't eaten yet today, so if you notice that my hands are a little shaky, that's because I'm starving and it's hot as hell outside. I have almost drank a whole gallon of iced tea since starting this little video, so not that you care, but there you go. Yeet. Alright, so for this side, we have 1, 2, 3, we have 4 stripes. We have 4 stripes we're going to knock out that are blue. So we'll go ahead and make a big mask, so we'll mask off all the rest of this stuff. And we'll do a quick spray. That goes over. Not anymore. Haha. And this is the process for pretty much anything. You take this process and you apply it to anything. Helmets, body armor, weapons, everything. Everything that I've done just in this last little 20-30 minutes. Is the same process I do for everything that I do. So the taping, the mask, the drawing some stuff on here and there. Usually I don't draw anything on because I don't have to, especially with helmets, because the line, especially for maker baked helmets are clean. All the lines are already pretty super clean. So when I'm taping something off, I'll just do a straight line of tape over this whole ridge here, and up and over the ear cap there, and same thing with the back ridge all the way across there with tape, and that will give me my entire dome fully exposed for paint, and nothing else on the bottom will matter. We don't have to worry about getting paint anywhere else down here. So if you're painting sections like I do, like I'll start with the dome, and then probably the back, and then I'll go into the face, and then the cheeks probably are usually last. They're all painted in sections, so that way I don't have to worry about screwing everything up. Because the other thing too is paper towel masking. I don't know if a lot of you are aware, but paper towels make amazing mask offs. That's it. Like so I don't have to tape this whole thing. Technically didn't even have to tape this whole thing. Another little trick that I learned how to use is that when you're doing, let's see here, that should be good enough. If you're doing something like the cheeks, and I've done this before, so let's say you have this edge that you want to define a little bit better. Like you're like, oh, this, I don't like the way that this edge is here, and I rip it off. Oh, damn, that looks way better just doing that. Ah, crap. Well, sorry. We'll okay, hypothetically, if you had, let's say, a cheek line here, and you don't want to spend a whole lot of time doing a curve, like let's say we have our curve, and you can't see that, but if we have a curve like this, and you're putting masking tape underneath here, but you don't want to spend an hour tearing off individual little pieces to give that curve, you can take paper towel, just cut it in the shape. You can hold the paper towel, press it up in there, and then cut it off. So if you're doing a helmet like this, just do this little trick. You take your paper towel, you press it up in the cheek, and it leaves an indentation from where it is. I mean, you can't see this on the paper towel, but there will be a crease. I take my scissors and I cut out just not on that line, but just below it. And then you stick that on. You paint, or you paint an edge, a bead of this stuff around the edge, and you lay this onto it. And this will bond immediately to that and to the prop itself and stick it together. So you won't need to use any sort of tape at all. This will stick just like tape will, and it peels off, and it will peel this off with it. So you don't really have to worry about doing any sort of crazy masking. I can actually probably show you that right here since I have this. So hypothetically, if we had this masking was going to go up against an edge and we didn't really want to do the whole thing, just lay a bead, I mean obviously a way cleaner bead, and you just dab that on, and in about, I don't know, like a minute, this will be one solid mask off, or masking thing, just like a tape edge. And you do this with any edge that you really want to play around with. And since I don't really need it right now, we'll go ahead and ignore that, and I'm just going to paint right over this whole thing. But just in case there is that, if anybody ever wants to try that little tip, so you don't have to waste a whole bunch of tape, because this tape is kind of pricey, a little pricey. All right, so for the blue, we'll go ahead and get into that. Yes, grocery bags as well. I don't know how, I like paper towels better because they're a lot more pliable. Grocery, and you can see through them, so you can see where your ridges and your different lines and shapes are a little bit easier than I think you would with like a grocery bag. But use whatever. I mean, it's really whatever anybody's comfortable with as far as I'm concerned. So we're going to do two different blues for the blue stripes, and I did this with my Maker Baked helmet as well. Is I have Signal Blue, which is a darker blue for shadow tones, and Flame Blue. And Flame Blue is also the blue that I used for my Boba Fett Holiday Special helmet. Oops. So Flame Blue is always going to be the base for Holiday Special stuff because it is the closest matching paint that I've found for that particular build. Some people might argue with that, but in the daylight, this is always going to be, it looks kind of dark in the shadow here, but it's always going to be a nicer blue. It's light, it's fancy. So what I normally do for this kind of stuff is I lay down my light color first. Let's see. And you can do this, this is all dry, so I don't have to worry about it. Of course. And we're not using that. Okay. Just kidding, guys. Clog tip. Alright, sometimes this blue takes a minute to come out. Alright, here we go. So I got that. Overspray on everything, that's okay. Lay it on there thick. You get all those nice and thick and blue, and it's hard to tell because of the thing. Take our cap back and go for a darker blue. And what I like to do with this guy is do edging. So I'll go up and around, all around the edge, to kind of give it like a shadow tone, so it automatically adds contrast, and we'll leave the white section or the lighter section in there. So I just edge it. Should be good for that. Oops, I'm going to add a little bit more of that light blue. Got a little dark. A little too dark. And this is the other good thing, is if it goes too dark or too light, just paint right over it. Nice little, put our highlight back in there. There we go. Alright. So now it looks like absolutely nothing because it matches in with our tape. Go ahead and peel all this bad boy off. Don't worry, I'm picking up all this crap later. And again, I'm not careful with my stuff because I feel the less careful you are, the more texture you get. Although, when you end up with blue fingers, you kind of have your own self to blame. Come on. There you go. Where's that guy? I think I could have made these stripes a little thicker. I could have made them a little thicker. I think I drew them on thicker and I just kind of ignored it. But that's okay. It kind of gets the point across. So I could leave it like that and have it look kind of rad where you get like really nice that blue in there. But I don't like leaving stuff, so we're going to tape ball it again. So same thing, dab, 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 dab. And it is going to take off some of the blue and whatnot, but guess what? That's okay because we want it to look beat up. There we go. So now we have some Leku stripes. And like I said before, again and again and again, you can go back over, like let's say, oh, I don't like the thickness of this, I want them a little bit thicker so it looks more like our stripes, especially down towards the bottom or right here. I probably would make it a little thicker. That's a really easy thing to take care of. Let's see how unsafe I can do this. I like how it dips down a little bit more, so I'll just kind of... Oh, something's on fire. Just so I have this a little bit thicker of a band. Well, now we got dogs howling. This is, who decided it would be fun to paint outside today? All right, we're gonna see if we can make this work without screwing it all up. We'll see. It's just a controller, so I'm gonna hold it like that and see if we can make that work. Oh, the puppies. Sorry guys, I can't get the dogs all barking and howling now. Alright. Paper towels are your friends. See, I already like this a little bit better. A little thicker. Like them thick. Bang. See, now we have the beginnings of the Leku look, and you will continue that onto the back side. And the easiest thing to do is just draw like how I already drew on there and just follow the design over, and it should be good. Point. Yeah. Oh, the ambiance. So that's the beginning of this, and so I'll skip over the boring masking and all that other stuff, because basically I'm going to just mirror this onto both sides. So when it comes to that, that's how that's going to look on both sides. I am going to thicken up this spike here a little bit more as well, just so it has a little bit more of a depth to it, more blue, because there's a lot of white on this thing. I definitely want a little bit more blue than that. So we won't bore you with those details. Instead, what we're going to do is go ahead and skip ahead to our weathering how I was explaining with this stuff. So how we put in all our depth detail and all our chipping and all that fun stuff. It looks fine and dandy, but nothing beats when you go to town with some black wash. Now a lot of people do their black wash different. Mine's kind of a cookie zany way as well. I water, paper towel. I soak my paper towel. Some people will have a mix and they'll mix it up and they'll wash it on and dab it off, and that's fine. That's tried and true. I do a different approach. It's almost like dry brushing. Get this thing nice and dirty, like really get that black in there. And a lot of times too, this white, if it's not completely dry, will hold on to a lot of that black. So you want to make sure that when you wipe it off, you wipe a little aggressively. You'll see kind of what I mean here a little bit. Like this right there. Kind of got stuck in those little grooves right there, but that's okay because that's gonna beat it up anyway. So now what we have, let's see, if you don't like something, scrape it off. You start ending up with more of a darker tint to your actual wash here, or to your actual part. White is kind of a pain in the ass, I will say that right out of the gate. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but don't worry about it. Same thing. Sometimes you can just use your thumb and smear it around. Sometimes I like that better, and then do a quick wipe. Oh, look at that. That is night and day. Yeah, wiping, not dabbing. So it's going to hold all the black and all the tiny little crevices and edges inside the cracks and crevices of the paint chips. So all the paint of the acrylic gets stuck in all the edges of the existing chip. So when you wipe it, it exposes the silver more and pushes all the paint up against all the edges. So it has more of a dirty texture feel to it. It definitely makes everything pop out more, makes everything a little darker, adds contrast, adds depth. And even from a distance, you can see that that's damaged pretty well. I mean, we didn't do it on this side, we just did it on this side. And that's the thing, a lot of with this, is you don't have to be symmetrical with anything. You don't have to. Like, you don't have to make sure that everything is the same on both sides, because weathering won't necessarily be the same on all sides. See, you use your hand, your thumb, it actually smears everything out a lot better looking, and just give it a quick wipe. If you want to scrubbing is good too. Use your thumb, add some pressure in there. It'll take off a lot more of the black, so it has a little bit more of a pattern. That's that. You can dab as well. Like I will say, if you do the wash and dab, I'll show you what that looks like on this other part. So let's do, it's got a similar effect. It's not as, it's kind of more of a pain in the ass as far as I'm concerned. So if we do this is a nice watered down. If you do your wash, you wash, and then you dab, it doesn't have the same effect. I feel it leaves it more dirtier than normal, than I would like, because I like the chips to be accented. I don't want the whole thing to look just like you had really dirty hands and you're playing around with it. So that's why, like this, like we just did the wash and dab, and it is what it is. I don't know. It's not my preferred method. That's the beauty of this stuff, is everybody kind of does their own thing and it works awesome. And so, like, again, brush on, That's a little too much for my. Just rub it in with your fingers.